As gamers, we are hyped when a long awaited game gets closer and closer to its release date. The adrenaline pumping, the joy pumping, the dopamine, just give it all to me. But it's us wanting to get our hands on a game that was marketed to be a certain way, a game that we cannot wait to get our hands on. What gets us, in all honesty, are the developers behind them, the trailers, the genre, everything. It gets us all into it. It's like in movies when we make the decision based on whether or not like they have good trailers or whether or not they have good actors that we know that they're good at. It's different variables that get us to watch these things or get us to play the certain games that are marketed towards us. However, for as much hype as was given, for as many years that it was worked on, one game in particular bit the bullet massively on December 7, 2023. The day before was marketed as an MMO survivor game, but many have stated that it's literally just an extraction shooter game. It's like if I told you I was writing the next amazing Stephen King-ish horror novel, but I came out with something resembling Stephanie Meyer's Twilight. And if you're wondering why I specifically picked that book, it's because I'm listening to Midnight Sun currently and I just cannot get that out of my head. In the trailer, it showed us a lot of things that a lot of us gamers love, which includes environmental damage. But it was literally non-existent. I have no idea why they would actually show it. I mean, there's just a lot of things that were in the trailer that many say were not there. It's like when you're expecting your dad to come home after buying milk, but he just never comes back. That's what the trailers were. The trailers were the dad that never came back. After 5 years of blood, sweat, and tears, we can finally say these words. The day before is out now. And I am pretty sure they wish they had never said that. I understand games coming out and not hitting close to the potential that was promised. I even made a video game of my thoughts about Cyberpunk and how much I actually enjoy the game once it was given much needed attention. We all remember what that buggy mess was, how the issues it had, the fact that it needed to be recalled on the PS4, which is what I played it on. So many things were wrong. But okay, that was a AAA title, so of course it's going to get better eventually, right? However, what about the indie game No Man's Sky? A game can get better, but in order for that to happen, you actually have to keep working on the game. Although, one thing is doing a horrible job and presenting someone that they spent $40 on, but giving them the type of game that they actually want. And another thing is charging them $40 to give them not only a severely obviously unfinished game, but it's something that wasn't even marketed towards them. It's something that they didn't even want. I understand because they bought an MMO survivor game. They did not buy an extraction shooter game. The next day, on December 8th, they did announce on their Twitter or X. Okay, listen, I don't know if people actually call it X, but I still call it Twitter for some reason. Anyway, they tweeted out a huge update including server and AI fixes is coming in a few hours, which was this not responded to in the way that I'm pretty sure they were hoping for. It was so apparent that this tweet didn't settle well for a lot of people. One person even replied saying, "What about the part where it's an extraction game and not an MMO? And 99% of the buildings you can't even go inside of." And guys, okay, when I read that, I felt so dissatisfied for the people that ended up buying this. I mean, let's just say for all intents and purposes, it was supposed to be an extraction shooter game, and they did market it as such. But why would you make it to where you can't even enter inside of most of the buildings? You could have made it to where you could enter like 60-70% to not make it the full 100. I believe Fallout did something like that to where you couldn't enter in every single building, but you did enter in quite a few of them, and that made all the difference. In order for them to feel immersed, and them, of course, I'm obviously talking about the gamers. In order for us to feel immersed in the game, we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to enter in homes. We need to be able to, do just anything that really, instead of just running around and doing nothing. I understood the anger when someone else replied, "Is there an update that brings in the rest of the game you guys been showing for 3 years?" And you can't really blame the sheer anger of this comment, because again, this person spent $40 on what they thought they'd get, but they didn't get what they paid for. They got something completely different, and they didn't even get it in a good state. However, after all of that, it was nice that you did have some people who were cheering on the developers. Fantastic. And it was honestly just heartwarming. One guy even replied, "My excitement for seeing this shit show did not disappoint me, laughed my derriere off." But I do want to say that you guys do seem to have a decent frame of the game right there. If you guys seriously work hard during the access phase to make this a good zombie extraction, things might work out. However, I'm not going to lie, it's nice to see that, because I do want it to be a success story. I want it to be like No Man's Sky or like Cyberpunk, that even though they did have the super murky, highly controversial beginning, I believe No Man's Sky was even called a scam. It was called so many things, but ultimately it worked out. But unfortunately with this game, that was not the case. On December 11, 2023, just 4 days afterwards, Studio Fantastic announced that they will be shutting down following the overwhelmingly negative reviews that their game received. They even released an official statement. Today, we announced the closure of Fantastic Studio. Unfortunately, the day before has failed financially, and we like the funds to continue. All the income received is being used to pay off debts to our partners. We invested all our efforts, resources, and man-hours into the development of the day before, which was our first huge game. We really wanted to release new patches to reveal the full potential of the game, but unfortunately, we don't have the funding to continue. It's important to note that we didn't take any money from the public during the development of the day before. There were no pre-orders or crowdfunding campaigns. We worked tirelessly for 5 years, pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into the game. We apologize if we didn't meet your expectations. We did everything with our power, but unfortunately, we miscalculated our abilities. Creating games is an incredibly challenging endeavor. Now, I'm not doubting for a single second that developing a game isn't challenging. I was in a school that had both web design and game design classes. Now, I did go into web design. The sheer amount of times I was panicked because my website crashed after one measly wrong code. No, absolutely not. But I did have a friend that went into game design. I actually had two. And they had a much, obviously, harder time than I did. But that's why if this is your first big game, you need more experienced people. Not only so they can also work on it, but it's just like so you can also learn from it. Because again, you said this is your first big game. Okay, I've also had 2 ideas for video games for the longest amount of time, but am I going to ever do it? No, I have next to no experience in this. Also, the fact that you worked on it for 5 years, I am so sorry, but it doesn't look like you spent 5 years working on it. Now when a lot of the assets that you have are being into question because a lot of people are saying that those are stolen. And now here's the thing. Nothing is wrong with buying from the asset store. I love watching the asset store. I like to browse through the asset store because I like to have in my little brain that maybe I can, do a game. But if you buy something from the asset store, you can't market it. You can't get a profit from that because you didn't make it. It is not yours. It is somebody else's. And also one thing that I do have a problem with, a part of the other things, is that line, "We apologize if we didn't meet your expectations." No, here's the thing. The gamers that bought your game bought it under the guise of it being an MMO survivor game. They did not buy it under the guise of it being a shooter extraction game. That is the difference. If you sell me, okay, if you tell me I'm going to give you a burrito, right? The world's finest burrito. And you give me a taco from Taco Bell and you say, "Sorry, I didn't meet your expectations." Well, it doesn't even look like you tried. I think if anything, you missed the mark. My point is that you can't say, "Sorry, we didn't meet your expectations," like the gamers are at fault because they expected a lot more. It's kind of your fault because if you would have just, marketed this since the beginning as an extraction shooter game, and they got it and they got an extraction shooter game, but it was lame, they still technically got what they paid for because it's the type of game that they still paid for. Obviously, at the end of the post, it had a history of the studio opening of 2015 up until the point of 2023, when the day before came out, which it's also the year where the studio is now closing. Here's the thing. You don't have to close. You didn't have to close, in my opinion. They didn't have to. In my opinion, like I said, you guys, please let me know what you think in the comments. But I feel like if they would have worked on it more, yes, unfortunately, you used a lot of manpower. You used a lot of resources, like you said. However, you literally marketed in the New York Times Square. I'm assuming that's a huge amount of money to market on Times Square. That is huge. How much money did you spend on that? It's just like you could literally make a good game if a small percentage of people play it. But here's the thing. If people love it enough, they themselves will do the marketing for you by word of mouth. Have your game do the talking for you. You marketed this game so much, so heavy, and you spent all the time in marketing, but they didn't spend it enough when it came to to the actual development of the game, since it doesn't really look like it was in development for that long. If all your assets were bought, it shouldn't have looked like that. But in the end, I am sorry that they did have to close because, like I said, this could have been good. This could have been exactly like No Man's Sky, to where everyone literally called No Man's Sky a scam, and they called it so many horrible things. But look, it is now such a great game. Even I want to play it. It's just, it hit the mark, when it came to, yes, you put out a shitty product at the beginning, you overly promised so many things, but at the end of the day, the developers did what they did, and they made No Man's Sky into a fantastic game. And unfortunately, Fantastic Studio put out a super shitty game right now with a really good frame, by the way, because they did make a good frame of the game. Let's put that out there. The frame was great. However, the frame was great for an extraction shooter game and not really a game that they marketed. However, you know, if, ands, or buts, I just really wanted to see them continue to work on the game and not just throw in the towel. I understand people gave you the cruelest of comments, but it's just like, I'm pretty sure they could have done something. And I'm sorry I keep changing from you to they. You know, this is the part of my script where it's done. I'm literally just telling you my thoughts free range. This is why I script. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think about the game. Did you actually have a chance to play it before it was pulled? Did you get a refund? Please let me know that. I am so sorry for those of you who did end up playing this and severely did not like this. I know games can be disappointing, but it is important to please not, I don't know, I'm not saying like coddle the developers, because it's obvious that they did not have any experience when making such a huge game. They didn't necessarily have to come out of the gates swinging when they had no experience doing any of that. But that's my thoughts. Please let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And let me know what other news you would like for me to talk about. I swear to God. Now, I need to go relax and drink some water. If you guys don't know, I do have a Twitch channel, which I should be still streaming Ocarina of Time and Alan Wake, the first one, because I am going to do a deep dive video on both of those games. Well, not really much of Ocarina of Time, but I will be doing a deep dive into Alan Wake. If you guys want to see more videos, please let me know by subscribing to me. I normally don't say that, but please subscribe, like, comment, all of that lovely stuff. But like I said, it's hard, but try just to not be so severe with these developers. It's obvious that they did take the time. They just didn't take enough time. Anyway, guys, that's it for me. Have a nice day. I'm Miss Quinn. Bye-bye.